Desperate dead period material. It's July the 5th, and this is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, one thing.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the July the 5th, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions, call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And by Granite Ridge Christian Camp. Need a life-changing experience? Come visit us at the Ridge. Okay, it's the first show since the third week of June, June 23rd. Happy to be back, happy to be here. I guess there was an earthquake while I was gone. My on-air sign fell, my mic got jacked up, and this was my prep. Basically what I've been doing to get ready for the show. For those that are on audio, that was my crescent wrench that I had to put everything back into place. So Rams have made a couple of transactions, nothing too big. There's a look at the first 53. That means the 53 to be the roster this year. A look at Seattle in week 11 and some Rams trivia featuring Holt, Hirsch, Ellard, and Bruce. So that should be fun. But I want to kind of kick it off, even though it is somewhat of a dead period. Maybe I shouldn't come with dead period material, but come up with dead period commentary, because there was this headline, and I know you can't see it if you're part of the Spotify crowd, but I came back. I was working a student academy this last week. We were training kids to go from students to junior counselors, and we call it our CIT Academy at Granite Ridge. Really cool. And I had some church business to take care of because that is my day job. But I came back and I'm trying to get caught up, and I see this headline and it says, "Will Rams be impacted by latest NFL gambling suspensions?" And you read something like that and you're thinking, OMG, who's going down? Are they going to pop up with something on Stafford or Donald or Cup or somebody? Well, maybe not Cup. But are they going to nail somebody on this? I mean, what's going on? You think it's a big headline, right? And then you look at the story beneath it. The NFL is suspending Isaiah Rodgers of the Indianapolis Colts for the entire 2023 season for violating gambling policy, according to Adam Schefter, just 1 year after the star receiver Calvin Ridley suffered the same fate. The Los Angeles Rams have so far not been directly impacted by the NFL's gambling suspensions. One way, further on in the article, the Rams will be impacted is that they will face the Colts in week 4, meaning that Rodgers, a starting quarterback and the team's primary kickoff returner, won't be active this week. And then here's the last paragraph I could only tolerate so much. So far, we don't know of any Rams suspensions for 2023 and have no reason to expect any. But what's clear is since the announcement of Detroit's Jamison Williams and others were suspended earlier in the offseason, is that anything could happen at any time. That's how they justify a headline. Will the Rams be impacted by latest NFL gambling suspensions? One, if you've been paying attention, you know that Isaiah Rodgers was going down. You knew he was going down. Now, whether or not the Colts waived him or not, but he wasn't going to be in the lineup when the Rams faced him in week 4? It wasn't happening. But that headline implies that somehow maybe a Ram player is going to be in the next round of suspensions. And it was just, again, it's something we used to call back at the Mid-Valley when I was there. There was always in the high school football season, we covered, well, there was no NFL to cover around here in those days. We covered USC, we covered arena football, we covered college football, JC, we covered high school football. That was our bread and butter. And there was always a dead period. There was like about 3 weeks in the summer where a dead period dropped, and you're constantly looking for material because your website's not taking any hits, your analytics are going down. And so we called it the desperate dead period material time. That's where you come up with thoughts like, okay, who are the top 10 players at this position who are juniors? You come up with all kinds of stuff like that. But I look at this. Will Rams be impacted by latest NFL gambling suspensions? You know, I feel like I'm not going to play the tape because I feel like asking what Tommy Lasorda's opinion of that would be. It's ridiculous. It is so lazy. You can go back and look at history and go back and find out who traded who, what players are on what teams. There's so much harder work that you can do. But to post a headline, will Rams be impacted by latest NFL gambling suspicions? And then to actually bury right there in your article, so far we don't know of any Rams suspensions for 2023. Then shut up. Don't say anything. I hate the word journalist. I can't stand the word journalist. To me, journalist, even though I was paid to write for a newspaper and website for 21 years, I hated the word journalist. I was a sports writer. I wrote about sports. Journalist, to me, connotated greasy politician or somebody that was going after something they shouldn't go after. I didn't like the name journalist. And if you're going to be a sports writer, be a sports writer and stop thinking about what is the best way to get clicks. Hey, we all want clicks, right? We all want clicks. I guess if I came out and said that Matthew Stafford was seen in a woman's dress, I guess I'd get clicks, right? But it would look stupid to say something like that. Just as it's stupid to put a headline, will Rams be impacted by latest NFL gambling suspensions? Come on, please help me. I don't know. Maybe I'm going off on it. Maybe you're thinking, Joe, you're just getting a little too worked up here. Maybe, but I have all this energy because I haven't been on for 2.5 weeks, for a week and a half, I think. So Rams news, they signed veteran cornerback Ahkello Witherspoon, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's 28. He was a third-round pick, 66th overall in 2017 by the 49ers out of Colorado. And he only appeared in 4 games last year. Steelers cut him in May. They also let their other corner, Cam Sutton, walk in free agency. They brought in Patrick Peterson, Joey Porter Jr., and Corey Trice in the draft. And so Witherspoon was kicked to the curb. And again, this is desperate dead period time, that desperate dead period material. This is the kind of stuff I can understand, but everyone's talking Witherspoon up like, hey, this might be the guy, man. This guy could be a starter. Well, when Witherspoon has played roughly 2 seasons ago in 2021 and 2020, he registered some good numbers. He was a top 20 safety, but even then he didn't play full seasons. In fact, over the last 4 seasons, Witherspoon, who's got great size, people really like him because of his size, he's played in only 34 of 66 possible games. Only 34 of 66 possible games. He sounds like a Rams offensive lineman, right? And only 2 games the last 2 years, only 13 games the last 2 years. That's why Pittsburgh put him in the street. I don't think it's bad to take a look at him, but I don't think it means Witherspoon signing means he's a lock to make the team. I think what it does mean is that Troy Hill is unlikely to return. I'd much rather dance with Witherspoon for 6 or 7 or 8 games than get the 6 or 7 or 8 games out of Troy Hill. Troy Hill, that party is over. At 28, let's see what Witherspoon has. I'm not against the signing, but everyone was getting all worked up like, oh, man, this guy's going to be the starter. Really? I'd be really disappointed if he was in front of Darian Kendrick or THT Travarius Hodges Tomlinson, even Robert Rochelle. I want to see what those guys got. If he's a great player, then fine, let him play. But I think at this point, 6 years into his career, body's already breaking down. I think we know what he is. He might be a good 5th or 6th back. And speaking of Troy Hill, and I'm going to get back to Witherspoon in a minute here. Getting back to that, I wouldn't rule out John Johnson returning, but I also wouldn't underestimate Jordan Fuller. According to Behind the Grind, I think that's episode 3 that came out. I was curious if it was going to be Ernest Jones or Jordan Fuller, but it looks like it's Jordan Fuller who's going to be the green dot guy, the guy with the radio. I'm guilty of writing off Jordan Fuller too. But the more I looked at him, looked at his stuff, and gone back, because he missed that playoff run in 2021 and almost all of 2022, his solid play in his rookie year and for most of 2021 has been forgotten. I think I touched on this the last show I did before everything went a little hectic there. Tim Burns, Thank you so much for clicking on, my man Tim. I get so I feel bad because Jordan Fuller was ranked 19th. He was rated the 19th rated safety in 2021 before he missed the playoffs. And of course, Eric Weddle had the postseason everyone probably dreams about after they've been retired for 3 years. So I'm expecting a great breakout year for Jordan Fuller. And then I'm expecting serious heartbreak when the Rams don't re-sign him, because the Rams will not re-sign their safeties. And that's what's going to be really, really interesting. With Witherspoon, if he still has gas in the tank, it could be bad news for a Robert Rochelle. And I don't know if that signing is good news for Sean Jolly, let alone to Marcus Davis and some of the other guys, Jordan Jones, the other guys that are UDFAs in camp. But those guys weren't projected to be on the 53 anyway. So got back just to kind of refamiliarize ourselves with everything. I usually go 3 times a week. I'm going twice this week, and we'll hopefully get back into things for a little while before I hit my next kids camp. Rams Wire put out their projected Rams 53, the first 53, right? And I thought it was interesting, so I thought it would bear a look at. Stafford, Bennett are the 2 quarterbacks, and Brett Rippon. That means he's out on his ear, which would be interesting. And of course, practice squad, and you can adjust anything these days because they are allowing that 3rd quarterback. Akers, Sony Michel, Kyrene Williams, Zach Evans. Rams listed as keeping 4 running backs. I think that's bad news for Ronnie Rivers, of course. Wide receiver, they project the Rams keeping 7 wide receivers. Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell, Puka Nakua, Ben Skoranek, Demarcus Robinson, and Lance McCutcheon. And of course, that means other desperate dead period material superstar Tyler Johnson won't make the team. And I don't think he's a practice squad guy. At tight end, they list Higbee, Hunter Long, and Davis Allen, meaning Bryson Hopkins would be the guy they project going off the roster this year. This was interesting. On the offensive line, they projected the Rams keeping 10. Everything I've seen and what I kind of saw, what I kind of wanted myself was 9. Havenstein, Noteboom, Jackson, Alaric Jackson, Warren McClendon, the draft pick, Brian Allen, Coleman Shelton, Steve Avila, Logan Brust, Tremaine Ankrum. That's 9 guys. I'm happy to go to war with those guys because I think that's a better than average offensive line. And if there's no injuries, of course, right? But a little bit of depth there. And then the one name that really surprised me was the 7th rounder from last year, AJ McCurry, that Rams Wire. Excuse me. Usually I'm coughing when it's allergies. That Rams Wire projected Curry to make the top 53, meaning the Rams would keep 10 offensive linemen. I figured Curry would pass through waivers and go back to the practice squad. But, hey, I'm all for the offensive linemen, as they call them, the big uglies. On defense, and I'm going to have a comment about the defense when we come back from the break, Aaron Donald, Bobby Brown III, Kobe Turner, Marquise Copeland, Ernest Brown IV, Jonah Williams, and DeJuan Johnson. They have DeJuan Johnson making the team. 7 interior defensive linemen. On the edge, they show 5. Byron Young, Michael Hoyt, Nick Hampton, Ochuan Mathis, and Daniel Hardy. And that's 3 rookies, 1 second-year player, and Hoyt, the guy that's the UDFA that started last year at the end of the season, got a couple of sacks. He's the only experienced one. At middle linebacker, I'm surprised they had 3. I thought they'd keep 2, but Ernest Jones, obviously, we're excited about Ernest Jones this year. Christian Roseboom, Mr. Special Teamer, and Jake Hummel, who was a UDFA last year. And it'll be interesting to see if 1 or 2 of these guys get snaps. And that's the part that's kind of fascinating. Still playing the same defense they played back in 2021 when a guy like Troy Reeder was getting defensive snaps, serious defensive snaps. You wonder if there's anything in the playbook or if there's anything they see in Hummel or Roseboom that might put them on the field for some defensive snaps and not special teams. I would think at this point with Roseboom, we know exactly what he is. With Hummel, there might be a shot there. At corner, again, this one was interesting because with the signing of Akilo Witherspoon, they have the Rams projected to keep 5. Gobi Durant, Darian Kendrick, THT, Rochelle, and Witherspoon. The odd guy out here looks like it could be Sean Jolly, who we've been hearing a lot of buzz about, and it would be interesting. Again, the one thing that I find is interesting this year, and I think Coach Karavitas, who is in Paris right now, vacationing, is with Aubrey Pleasant back as the DB coach, the guy that was there when Darius Williams developed for the Rams in 2019, 2020, and 2021. He was a UDFA. Well, actually, he was just a free agent. He was cut by the Ravens. How he developed into a guy that got the second big contract. It'll be interesting to see if he could revive Robert Rochelle's career. Be interesting to see if maybe he finds something in Sean Jolly that no one else found before. At safety, they list 4, Jordan Fuller, Russ Yeast, and Quentin Lake, and Jason Taylor II. So that looks pretty good. There's some other guys to keep an eye on, but that's interesting there. And then, of course, right now, as it stands, Tanner Brown is the kicker, Ethan Evans is the punter, and Alex Ward is the long snapper. Brown and Ward are both undrafted free agents. And the interesting thing here, all 14 of the Rams draft picks are projected to make the active 53. That's interesting. Usually that doesn't happen too often. The Rams ended up signing THT, Ochuan Mathis, and Zach Evans on Saturday. And so the only 2 people aren't signed are Byron Young and Kobe Turner. Stay tuned, but we think that's going to get done. So before we head to break, we want to do the Kistler Law Rams trivia question of the day. And the question comes, it is 4 wide receivers have recorded more than 45 career touchdown catches for the Rams. Which one of these has the most? 4 wide receivers have recorded more than 45 career touchdown catches for the Rams. Which one of these has the most? A, Torrey Holt, B, Elroy Hirsch, C, Henry Ellard, D, Isaac Bruce. If you ended up watching this live and you can get the name up there in the comment box, I'll do something nice for you. I don't know what I can do nice for you. I'll talk to the sponsor about doing something nice for you, and we'll get that to you. So that'll be announced before the end of the show. Okay. I am Joe Terosian, and I was a sports writer for 21 years, one of the founding guys at Mid-Valley Sports. And I've written several books, and I do RamView. My friends over at Mid-Valley Sports, Tim and Dwayne, they still do football, and they are in the room with the Chargers. They got more access to the Chargers than I do to the Rams, so good for them. I am actually sneaking out to a Rams camp practice later this summer. But that's what I do. I do this and the books, which you can find on Amazon, I'm not acknowledging anybody right now, Tim Burns, until the end of the show. I'm laughing. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be laughing. But I do that, the books, the sports writing, and all these, because I supplement my income. I pastor a very small church in Burbank Faith Virtual. I got about regular consistency, about 20 people in church. I got another 35 online, and we have a great time. And you're welcome to join us anytime. In fact, right here on YouTube, you can check out Burbank Faith Virtual. We have our own channel here, and also all across social media. You can find me at Amazon at Joe Terosian, buy my books, or you can find me on pretty much every place else that's the normal social media, the mainstream, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Joe Terosian. And all right, I think that's the thing. All right, thank you so much for sticking with us while we were gone. I was gone for about 10 days. Not a lot happened, except nothing happened with the Rams in terms of gambling. Maybe something will, but we have no information on why someone would write a column saying, hey, will the Rams be impacted by gambling decisions or whatever? Anyway, I'm done with it. One of the things I wanted to throw out real quick before we get into the Rams history and then looking at week 11 is as we've talked about the running back being really dismissed in terms of, and everyone's getting, I'm waiting for special government bailout to bail out the running backs, right? Because their jobs are being eliminated, or it's almost like they're being outsourced to Bangladesh. You know, the way they talk about the running back position being removed, and so I started thinking about this. You know, Colin Cowherd had the thing where he sees the Rams making the playoffs. I've said that high end, I see the Rams maybe winning 10 games, and we're going to talk about that when we look at the schedule here. Low end, I could see the Rams winning only 7, and that's what I see. Anything beyond that in either direction, I just don't see. But if the Rams were to win 10 games, if the Rams were to pick off a playoff win with a defense that literally, as I've shared earlier this year, and some of that info was lifted by other podcasts, with a defense where Aaron Donald has played something like 7,500 NFL snaps, and the rest of the other starting 10 have only played 5,000 combined. And of those 5,000, 3,000 of those belong to Ernest Jones and Jordan Fuller. That if the Rams could pull that off, if they can make the playoffs, somehow upset somebody, right? You never know whose quarterback goes down or whatever. That's something to think about, because last year, think of all the rookies at second-year players the Kansas City Chiefs started, and they won the Super Bowl. And the way everything is so geared to the offense these days, it's almost like your defense just needs to be a delaying action. It just needs to slow the offenses down, because no defense right now in the NFL is going to stop the Chiefs. And we know when the Rams are at full strength, very few defenses can stop the Rams when they're clicking on all cylinders. Now, we got to see if those other receivers develop. We got to see if Cam Akers is Cam Akers. We got to see if the offensive line is what it should be. But what I'm implying is that as we've seen the stress that people are having about the running back position just going away and no one making any money. I mean, for goodness sakes, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl with 7th-round draft pick Isaiah Pacheco in the backfield out of Rutgers. If the Rams were to capitalize and make the playoffs in a year they shouldn't, if they were to actually win a game in a year they shouldn't, or, you know, praise be, maybe even do more than that, what would that say about teams putting any money into defense the next few years? Because the Rams traded away Jalen Ramsey in his prime. I mean, he's still playing well. And they let Darius Williams walk. And if they found guys in the draft, in Darian Kendrick and Kobe Durant, and those guys can develop and they get the best out of them for 4 years, and then they let one of them walk or both of them walk and THT steps in, all of a sudden our cornerback room is looking like our safety room. We get that first contract out of him, and then the world changes. And no one's paying for off-ball linebackers. So your money is going to go, if you have them, to Aaron Donald, and your money's going to go to somebody on the edge. It's just interesting, because I think if there's a team like, especially like the Rams, that has major success this year, boy, people are going to start questioning how much they want to invest in the defense. Just saying, right? Just saying. Okay, real quick here. Yes, thank you very much, Tim Burns. It's outgun the other. Tim Burns, man, you're like my ambassador of Quan today. Ambassador of Quan. There you go. All right, born on this day in 1983, Richie Incognito. He turns 40 today. Incognito was a 3rd round, 81st overall draft pick of the Rams in 2005, and out of Nebraska. He spent 3.5 years in the club. He missed all of 5 with an knee injury, but he was there at 6, 7, and 8. And then 2009, he got hurt, and then later the Rams released him, and he was picked up by the Dolphins, where he revived his career, made a Pro Bowl, then got in trouble for bullying. Was it Thomas Martin or Jonathan Martin, another offensive lineman? I don't know how an offensive lineman bullies another offensive lineman. You tell me. And he was suspended for the 2014 season, but he ended up going to a Pro Bowl with the Dolphins and 3 Pro Bowls with the Bills. And he ended up playing through 2020, 15 seasons, 14 active in the NFL. And he was a tough dude. He's a bit of a maniac. He's almost the Romanowski of linemen. And he was actually one of those draft picks in that first decade of this century that actually panned out for the Rams. Richie Incognito, Steven Jackson. Who else, right? OJ Atagwe, Adam Archuleta, who else? They missed on so many draft picks, right? And Incognito really, without his own personal demons, he might be a guy that would have been in more Pro Bowls. He might have been a guy that could have been somebody that you think about in the future for some Hall consideration. He was a heck of a guard, physical, strong, a brute. You want a bad dude like that. He's almost like Dennis Hara on roids. And I don't know. I understand he's just, maybe it was the roids. I don't know. He was his own worst enemy sometimes, but also played in a generation where people are uber sensitive. It'll be interesting to see how he's considered looking back, because he's done some brutal things. And it'll be interesting to see as his post-career goes on how he fares in life. But anyway, Richie Incognito turns 40 today. On Monday, we missed this because we weren't on the air. I wanted to get this in. On July the 3rd, Grant Wistrom turned 47. Wistrom was a defensive end on those Greatest Show on Turf teams on the defensive side, 1999 through 2001. He was a first-round, 6th overall pick in 1998 out of Nebraska. He spent 6 seasons with the Rams, 3 with Seattle. He had 53 career sacks, 41 and a half with the Rams, 11 in 2000. I remember them talking about Wistrom, and we're watching Wistrom, and yeah, he was good, but I just remember them talking him up a lot more than I thought he should have been talked up. Remember, he played alongside on the same line with Kevin Carter, and the Rams got all of Kevin Carter's great years, and so that probably opened the door for Wistrom. But Wistrom reminds me of the Rams' perennial, eternal effort to replace Jack Youngblood. We need a white guy defensive end, right? And so they tried Bill Hawkins, and they went to Wistrom, and they went to, was it Adam Carricker? That guy, I think they called him Popeye, and he was a bust. And they never could get that guy. But that's when I think of Wistrom, and it's his birthday. On Monday, he turned 47. And tomorrow, since we're not on the air, I want to get this in. Tomorrow, on this day in 1947, Fred Dreyer was born. Fred Dreyer turns 47 tomorrow, and he was a first-round, 13th overall pick out of San Diego State by the Giants in 1969. In 3 seasons with the Giants, he had 29 sacks. Of course, all that's retro. They go back, check the film. None of those are official. But he had 29 sacks, and his option was up. He didn't want to play with the Giants. They traded him to the Patriots for a bunch of draft picks. But then the Patriots, he didn't want to play with the Patriots either, so to speak, and they ended up trading him to the Rams on April 26, 1972. That's how the Rams acquired him. They ended up giving was it Rick Cash, pedestrian, but they gave him a number 1 pick in the 1973 draft. That's why Cullen Bryant was the Rams' first pick in the 2nd round in 1973, because their first pick overall, number 11 overall, went to the New England Patriots, and they drafted Sam Van Cunningham. And I thought it was interesting. There is, for people who grew up in the Southern California, there is this soft spot for Sam Cunningham. But when you think about the deal and the 10 years the Rams got out of Fred Dreyer, that's pretty special. He had 103 career sacks, 74 with the Rams. Not easy to come by when you're playing alongside Larry Brooks, Merlin Olsen, and Jack Youngblood. Again, just, if the Rams could have pulled off another Super Bowl appearance, maybe picked off a Super Bowl win in that meaty part of the 70s, guys like Fred Dreyer, Larry Brooks, Isaiah Robertson, I think they'd be getting longer looks than they are now in terms of Canton, maybe even Jack Reynolds, if you think about what he did later on with the 49ers. But I'm a big Fred Dreyer fan. For a while there, I thought Fred Dreyer was better than Jack Youngblood. I was a kid. Dreyer got the 2 safeties against the Packers in 73 in 1 quarter. And I listened to it on the radio, and I thought, well, Dreyer, but everyone loved Jack Youngblood, and I know why. Okay, moving on as we get to the back part of the show here. We are in week 11 of the Rams season. We have done the first 9 weeks and the bye. We're looking at every opponent the Rams are playing this year. First, we're looking at their defenses and assessing. And then when we finish, we're going to go start over again and then look at their offenses and maybe adjusting what we think they can do or couldn't do at various times. Because like with the Colts, things change, situations change, and we can make an adjustment for that. So we're starting the back half of the season, and right now I have the Rams at 3-6 with wins over the Colts, Cards, and in Lambeau against the Packers, because I think this is the time when this defense is going to start to come together and providing just enough stop, just enough leverage to allow the Rams offense, if everything is well, to pick off some wins. Rams in the first half of the season will lose to Seattle and Frisco the first 2 weeks, Pittsburgh at home, Cincy on a Monday night, Philly and Dallas. We know they're going to lose those games. Right now they're 3-6, and so they get their second game of the season in Week 11 against the Seahawks at SoFi on November 19th, 2023. I originally projected this as a loss, and as they go up against Geno Smith and the playoff team, again, a reminder, the Seahawks were 9-8 last year. They lost Cody Barton, Rashad Penny, but they had a great draft. They got Bobby Wagner back. They got a pair of safeties that they pay way too much money for, in Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams. They got young corners in Tariq Woolen, and then fifth overall draft pick Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois, and Kobe Bryant out of Cincinnati. And so this is developing secondary, and their issue is they're vulnerable up the gut. They short up the edge with Derek Hall out of Auburn, 38th overall. He's 6'3", 254. And they signed the Charger guy, Uchenna Wosu, after he had his best year, came out of USC. And so they've made improvements. Again, they're still vulnerable up the gut. And we're going to look at the offense coming back around again. But one of the things I've been surprised about hearing as I really been listening to a lot of stuff to kind of get back into things, because I've been out of town for a week and a half, is when we look at the Seahawks, everyone's expecting Geno Smith to have a regression. And I'm not, if I'm completely sold on that. Yeah, will there be more film on him? But there's been film on him. People know what he can do and what he can't do. But is this the first time he's been in a place where it's a great organization, a solid coach, and stability around him? I mean, the guy played for the Jets, for goodness sake, right? And that young offensive line last year, I think is going to be better. It's more experienced, obviously, and the team added more weapons around him with Charbonnet out of UCLA and Jackson Smith out of Ohio State, Nijba out of Ohio State. And so they added weapons around him. He's still got DK Metcalf. He's still got Kenneth Walker. He's still got, I hope I pronounced that right. He's still got him, and he's got Tyler Lockett, and then he's added the kid out of Ohio State. He's added Charbonnet. The offensive line is more improved. I don't know if I see a regression here happening to him. But one thing I do know is that the Rams had them last year. They had them. And they should have beaten them at home, and they nearly beat them in Seattle with everything on the line and everything much more makeshift with Baker Mayfield. And so while I gave Week 1 to the Seahawks, I'm going to give Week 11 to the Rams at home, and I could see the Rams pulling it together and going to 4-6 at this point. And one other thing I wanted to throw out there is everyone is absolutely all in on the 49ers, as when you look at their roster, you should be. But the one thing that kind of just sticks out to me is that every year the 49ers go down with injuries. Every year. And they got lucky last year with Brock Purdy. They got real lucky. And I honestly think this Seattle team, if everything stays on track, and maybe Geno's not the quarterback, but we'll see, that this team by 2024 is going to be the class of the NFC. And I could see if injuries hit the 49ers, of course you could say that about anybody, the 49ers could take a tumble and Seattle could go to first place in the NFC West. Just saying. I just don't know if the Seahawks should be sold as short as they are coming into this year. Okay, let's get to the trivia question. It was a stone groove, and we'll stone groove it here in a minute. But we got to get to the trivia question, and I want to make sure we answer this correctly. The Kistler Law trivia question of the day: 4 wide receivers have recorded more than 45 career touchdown catches for the Rams. Which one of these has the most? A, Torrey Holt, B, Elroy Hirsch, C, Henry Ellard, D, Isaac Bruce. The answer, Isaac Bruce with 91 over 14 seasons. Isaac Bruce out of Memphis, second round, 33rd overall in 1994 by the Rams when they were still in LA. He's actually a 33rd overall pick, unlike Brian Quick, that paid off. And congratulations to Tim Burns. You are the ambassador of Quan for sticking with me today. And you know how to message me on the side. Message me at a mailing address, and I'll send you something. I'm not going to say it's going to be nice, but I'll send you something. All right, folks. God bless. Take care. It was great being back. It was a stone groove, and I love talking Ram football. God bless. Take care, and wow. I guess we will see you soon.